Hello everyone, welcome to another one of these collection videos. Today we're going to take a look at our 4K collection as of the end of 2021. And as always, if you're watching this video brand new as it's coming up, check out the poll on the community page to see which collection video I go ahead and do next. The 4K format is, I'd say, all the rage in a way with movie collectors right now. It's the kind of thing that a lot of the new releases or reprints of older movies are coming out on 4K. Everyone's always looking forward to what the next big 4K announcements are going to be from companies like Criterion and different labels like that. And for me, unless you're a much younger collector, I could see that happening if you're just kind of getting started, or if you're one of those real huge hardcore collectors that needs a copy of their favorite movies on like every format that ever exists, that kind of thing. Otherwise, I don't really see the need for it. It's just not something I have that much of an interest in. We do have a few movies and talk about why I have these few that I have, but in general, I'm never going to have a huge 4K collection. Blu-ray is kind of where I tap out. I don't really need anything better than that. So many old formats that I enjoy and love. I spend almost all of my watching time with DVD and Blu-ray. DVD more than anything, especially with old TV shows. Kind of fine with that. And I love Laserdisc, definitely my favorite format overall, even though I don't watch it as much as something like DVD or Blu-ray, and I really enjoy VHS and Betamax. Those are the kind of things I want to spend my time with, my money with, and the space with as well. 4K is just not something that interests me too much, with the exception of these few titles that I have, and I'll talk about at the end what I would get if it came to 4K in the future. The first one I'll bring up because it's kind of the oddball. It's the only one of these that I did not intentionally go out of my way to buy. It's one I just stumbled upon very cheap at a thrift store, and it seems like a really nice addition, so I'm like, alright, for the price of just a DVD, I could get a 4K and Blu-ray combo with a really cool slipcover of one of my favorite movies. I'll go for it. The Shining, one of my favorite movies, and this is one I've talked about a little more in depth a couple of times as I picked up the Japanese Laserdisc not that long ago, and in my favorite movies video I talked about this, so you'll actually see most of these are movies that are in that 50, those favorite movies video series, because that's what I would have on this format. Wanted to pick that up, really like this case design, I love the look of the cover. Great movie. This is one of those movies that I have always enjoyed, but I like more as time goes on. There are a few movies like that where repeat viewings over the years, maybe I don't like it quite as much as I remember. That doesn't happen very often, but there are a few that happens more frequently where I like it more as time goes on and I get older. The Shining, and a very recent pickup that you would have seen on the channel not that long ago if you watch me. The 4K Ultra, I'll go ahead and take this out of the case, and Blu-ray combo for Willy Wonka, the 50th anniversary edition. A little less glare there. Very like the shimmery elements to the cover. One of my favorite movies of all time, absolute childhood classic. This is one that I would say for me is an essential movie. There's a handful of movies, maybe like 100 top out of thousands of movies that'd be like, if I had to have the smallest collection possible, these are the ones I want to have forever. This would be one of those. So that's why I wanted to grab that. It's just one of those movies that, even more so than some movies, it would be a little bit higher, and as far as favorites, it's one of those that has such a rewatchable quality. It's a movie that comes around in high frequency in my rewatching of old movies. There's some movies like that where it's a great movie, but you don't watch it very often. It's just not the type of movie you just put in, pop in to relax. And other movies like Willy Wonka, that for me, I will come back to several times a year sometimes. Just a joy to rewatch. Another one like that for me is this Steelbook 4K of E.T. Again, one of those movies that I come back to very, very frequently. Would definitely be one of the movies that would be essential for my permanent collection. and one that one of these movies that I have on most formats that I own. That these all have that in common. These are the types of movies that I have on lots of different formats. Then these two will pull up together because these are, of course I have these, especially if you watched my favorite movies video, and I'll link that at the end of this as well. If you've not seen that, I did a whole series on my favorite movies of all time, and these are in my top 2, including my favorite movie of all time. So of course I have this on the 4K format, one of the few that I didn't even think about. It was automatically on the list to grab both of those. Another recent pickup just this fall, and hopefully over the course of next year the rest of the movies will be coming out and more Star Trek stuff. But Star Trek, the 4-movie collection, Star Treks 1 through 4. Hopefully we get 5, 6, and the TNG movies in the future. I did an unboxing of this a while ago, and it has the regular Blu-ray set, and then this 4K set. It's Star Trek. It doesn't matter if there's another format after 4K, if 8K happens. I don't think that'll be any kind of like a physical format if that happens. I think 4K is probably the end, but we'll see what happens. I would buy Star Trek on that. It's Star Trek. It doesn't matter. Pretty much anything pre-2009 Star Trek, I will get. Star Trek to me is the most important franchise in any one of our collections. Amanda and I, this is like a Star Trek household. So Star Trek on anything. Any more Star Trek comes out on 4K, grabbing that. Then there are 2 more that have the same idea, the types of movies that are personal favorites, all in my very, top 50 movies of all time, and have that common element of they are movies that I rewatch very frequently. The kind of movies that, again, several times a year I will watch over and over again. And it makes it better when there is also a connection with my wife, or if it's a movie that she also enjoys and we share together. It's always a fun thing. And one of these favorites, The Mummy, the 1999 Mummy with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz. This is an amazing movie. It's one of those that Amanda and I were talking about. I've mentioned before how it's one of those weird things where it seems to be a generational thing. How I've not come across, I'm sure obviously people are going to be people out there, but I've not come across anyone who would be, at the time of filming this, between the ages of 30 and 40 who doesn't love this movie. It's just one of those weird things, but anyone a lot older or a lot younger seems to be less likely they enjoy it. It seems to be one of those things that this movie captured a generation when it came out, and is so much fun. A movie I've never gotten tired of. Absolutely love it. One that Amanda likes to watch as well. It's also one of her favorites, and just one of those essential movies that end up in the DVD player or the Blu-ray player or whatever all the time. The last entry in our current collection for the 4K format, and as of the time of filming this, the only other one that has been released that I actually want. So finished having all that's been released so far in the 4K format that I would like. A recent addition, Hook. Hook is a favorite childhood film of mine, and it is one of Amanda's favorite movies, if not her favorite. And this is a movie that not only is it enjoyable, but I love having things that Amanda loves. I really do. It's one of those things that have so much more meaning for me when it's something that she enjoys and she loves, because when the love of your life loves something, you can't help but love it too. And that's why Hook, as much as I enjoy the movie, it's become a movie that's much more important to have, and it's a kind of movie we have on VHS and Laserdisc and DVD and regular Blu-ray, and now we have the Blu-ray 4K combo of this amazing movie. This, more than any other movie I associate with Amanda. There are just a handful of movies like The Last Unicorn and Muppet Treasure Island and Matilda that, when I think of Amanda's favorite movies, they come to my mind immediately, but none so much as Hook. This is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of my wife and I think of movies that she loves. So for me, that makes it one of the most important movies to own and have on various formats. So that is what we have so far in the 4K collection. I would love, as always, to have a link to your collection video if you have one. I'm sure this one a lot of people will have because it's not as specific as some of the other ones that I've been doing. It's more of a general format, and it is the more and more common standard for the time for a lot of people, so I'd love to check out some of your videos. Again, it's just not a format that I'm as super into as a lot of other older formats. I have more, I have more HD DVDs than I do 4K, and a lot of that is, I'm a big collector of older media. I really enjoy older formats. It's a lot of fun, and aside from these few very important exceptions, most things I already have a DVD and a Blu-ray, or a DVD and a Laserdisc or whatever, and I don't really feel the need to upgrade, or I don't need another copy, kind of thing, unless it's something very, very special. So these are the few rare exceptions so far, and thinking about the future of what is upcoming, like what would I actually continue to get, what would I buy in the future on 4K, since it's not, an essential, format really for me. It's not really one that I target. A lot of times something will come out on a Blu-ray and a 4K, and I'll just get the regular Blu-ray. The number one would be more Star Trek. Pretty much, again, anything original series, TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, any of that kind of stuff that will come to 4K, I would get. That's wishful thinking for a lot of that stuff, since we still don't even have some of the biggest parts of the Star Trek franchise even on regular Blu-ray yet. So a lot of the things that I would get on 4K are almost guaranteed to never be on 4K. Any of these, a lot of older TV shows, a lot of Star Trek, that kind of stuff. It's stuff that just is not, it would never come to that. The only other Star Trek would be probably more the movies. I would get those, but yeah, so those would likely never come out. The other big thing would be if they released The Muppet Christmas Carol complete in 4K, I would buy that immediately. I would pre-order that, and any kind of a limited edition or whatever they put out there, I would get immediately. But that's the only other individual movie I can really think of that I would definitely want to grab, because the only, for that movie in particular, it's one of my favorite movies of all time if you watch my videos, and means a lot to me, and would be right up there with something like the Willy Wonka or whatever that is, an essential movie. And the only way to get the complete version of that movie with the essential song is on VHS or Laserdisc, or there's an edition on DVD that I have that it's a special feature in Pan and Scan. So to get the widescreen version of the movie complete, the Laserdisc is still the only real option. So even the Blu-ray and any other newer editions that are out of that movie, they're cut versions of it, so I wouldn't bother with any of those. So that would be one. So as far as 4K, it's very unlikely, not impossible, but unlikely we'll have any more than this, aside from hopefully more of the Star Trek movies. But we'll see what the future holds. It's it's always possible. But for now, that is our collection in the 4K Ultra HD format.